Today we're talking about depersonalization, anxiety. I've dealt with depersonalization on and off over the years, over the past 10 years or so, and I've learned a thing or two about it. Okay, I've just set this up, but I feel like it's about to rain. I might be blurry right now, but we're back. Sun's out. I'm gonna be fishing over here. Let's talk about it. Depersonalization, what is it? It is a heightened state of anxiety. It's essentially just anxiety, but elevated. And what I mean by that is when you start to feel anxious, when your nervous system jacks up and anxiety spikes, you go through this curve, and at the top of that curve is experiences like detachment. Detachment, like as in you don't feel real or the world doesn't feel real. That's there for a reason though. It's nothing to be afraid of. While it's not comfortable, it's not a nice feeling, it's something to be afraid of because it's just an experience. It's just a part of anxiety. It's just your nervous system being jacked up as a safety mechanism to protect you. Because when you're in a car crash, or the classic example is a lion attacking you, your mind and your body have developed a system to allow you to feel detached from the experience as a way of protecting you. That's all depersonalization is. We just made up a word for it, which is depersonalization. Like, it's just a word that humans came up with. But it's just an elevated state of anxiety. And that's it. You're not stuck with it for the rest of your life. There's no diagnosis or anything like that where, oh shit, you've got this, now you gotta just deal with it forever. Not at all. It's just a word that we made up. It's just something that we've come up with. And the problem with depersonalization that I found is that I know that when I first experienced it, my own personal story was through a panic attack which I had. And through that panic attack, I felt very detached. And from that moment on, I was always worried about having that same feeling, which then being worried about it brought the feeling on more and more and more. You can experience depersonalization in many different ways. A lot of people experience it through taking some form of drug, maybe smoking weed and having a bad trip, and then they feel detached, and then when they wake up the next day or throughout the next few days or weeks or whatever, months, years, they have this feeling of detachment. You feel like you've completely fried your brain and it's irreversible. And I promise you that is not the case at all. It's not the case. You're not doomed. All it is you've essentially learned to experience something new which is unfamiliar to you, which is very uncomfortable, and the fear of experiencing that sensation brings on the sensation in a sense. It's being anxious about being anxious. It's this weird paradox which is very annoying to overcome. However, the good thing is that you can overcome it because you haven't fried your brain, you are okay. It's just that you've learned to experience depersonalization for the first time, and it was something you were previously unfamiliar with, and now you are familiar with it, and so you become afraid of experiencing it more often, which actually brings it on more often. That's actually all it is. So relax, it's okay, you will be okay. But now we have to learn to be able to let go and stop thinking about depersonalization and anxiety so much, because the cure for depersonalization and anxiety is to stop thinking about them so often. That's one of the cures. There's other things involved, but that's probably the major one. Stop thinking about it and you won't be experiencing it. And the way you can do this test is, if you just even have a couple of seconds or 5 seconds in your day where you don't feel depersonalized or you don't feel anxious, and then you notice it soon after, which usually ruins it because you're like, damn it, I was enjoying that 5 seconds and now I've remembered that. The fact that you can do 5 seconds doing a task or thinking about something else and you forget about the fact that you're feeling anxious, that's amazing. For those 5 seconds, you didn't have anxiety and you weren't depersonalized for those 5 seconds. Like, you actually weren't. And so the goal is to extend that 5 seconds into 30 seconds, into a minute, into 10 minutes, into half a day, into a day, until one day, I promise you will wake up in the morning and the first thought in your mind will not be anxiety or depersonalization. It's incredible. and it feels impossible for a lot of you in certain situations, but I promise I've been to some very dark places and spent a long time, many months, where every single day I would wake up and feel and think those thoughts, to then now I don't actually wake up and think about it. Or if I do, it's because I want to educate people and help people overcome it. The fact that I can stand here and talk about depersonalization and think about it and not necessarily feel it to a huge degree, or if at all, is because I'm not afraid of it. And so that's really the ultimate goal, is to stop thinking about it so often. You have to stop being afraid of it. That takes practice. There's a few things you can do though, and so I'm going to talk about them now. After I cast this big and catch a mad fish, you just watch, guys. You think I'm a terrible fisherman, you watch. I'm about to catch some big freaking fish. Oh, jellyfish. I might change the camera angle now so you can see me a little bit better. Okay, so now we understand a little bit about what depersonalization actually is. And we've worked out that in order to get over it, essentially what we have to do is to stop thinking about it. And to stop thinking about it, we have to stop being afraid of it so much. A lot of the time when you're feeling depersonalized, you start to question a lot of existential thoughts about life. And it can be very confronting. Even the tiniest little thing can be blown up into this magical, huge thing about the world and how it's wild, and the fact that this dog's walking along there and it has a conscience, and like it can get really deep pretty quickly. And it's a sign that you're probably a very switched on, intelligent person, so props to you. However, it's not very helpful day to day to be thinking about that stuff all the time. So for me personally, I was thinking about a lot of these existential thoughts, and I felt, whoa, a fish is, okay, these fish are taunting me. There's literally just fish just jumping out of the water. Okay, maybe it's getting chased. I'm gonna try catch it. That is insane. It's a big old fish and it's literally just diving out of the water. That's a good sign for me, surely. If I catch a fish right now, that's gonna be epic. Or, I mean, if I don't catch a fish, I'm literally the world's worst fisherman, where fish are jumping out of the water and I still can't catch them. Well, there's a few things that we can do. And I spoke about this in another video, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit more here. So there's the 3 pillars of anxiety and depersonalization that I've come up with, but I feel like they encapsulate a lot of what anxiety recovery looks like. So there is practical tools, there's biological, what you eat, your sleep, your exercise, and then there's spiritual, which encapsulates things like religion and your fundamental belief about the world and where you are and the meaning of life and things like that. Just those tiny topics. So with practical, a lot of time I feel like these practical tools, such as breathing techniques, meditation, things like wearing earplugs or to dull down the noise and the stimulation. So these tools, in my opinion, are not going to cure the feelings of depersonalization. They're not going to completely fix it. However, they will help you manage it along the way while you work on the other areas. So I'd highly recommend getting some earplugs, because I promise you they're going to help in situations where you're in a shopping center or even at home alone. I literally wear these earplugs to just block out the noise and even block out my own body noise sensations. I'm wearing them now because it actually helps me think. And so it just quietens everything down, simmers down my nervous system, and I feel less depersonalized in really any situation. So I'd highly recommend them. Another one of these tools, which I would actually highly recommend, I wouldn't even say it's a tool, it's in a league of its own, which is exposure therapy. So exposure therapy is probably the best way to overcome anxiety, depending on where your anxiety stems from. So with exposure therapy, the idea is to voluntarily expose yourself to these feelings of anxiety, depersonalization, derealization. You have to do it voluntarily. We probably do it all the time, day to day. You're like, mate, Ben, I'm exposed to this stuff all day, every day. That's why I'm watching this bloody video, so I can stop feeling these feelings. And I understand, I get it. But there's a massive difference between feeling depersonalized and anxious because it's just situational versus doing it voluntarily. Because when you voluntarily expose yourself to the thing that's making you uncomfortable, you don't actually become less afraid, you become more courageous. Do not run away from the feelings of anxiety that might come up. Don't run away from them. If you continue to run away from it, they will continue to chase you. It's not how it works. You can't run away from anxiety. You have to learn to accept anxiety and accept the feelings of depersonalization. And only then will you become more courageous. You worry about it less, you'll think about it less. And even if it does come up, or even if you're someone like me now where you're talking about it openly to other people, it doesn't bring on the feelings. So what does exposure therapy look like? Look, maybe I can do another video on this. It's different for everybody. But a fantastic book you should read is The Anxious Truth. Phenomenal book. The guy that wrote that, forgot his name, legend. Oh man, there's people bringing boats in now. I actually do have to move. Okay. There. See the fish jumping? Do you see that? So next I'm going to talk about biological, which essentially refers to your diet, your exercise, and your sleep. And what these will do, if you optimize these, is they'll offer a huge buffer zone between you and depersonalization, or the worst feelings of anxiety. So if on a bad day your anxiety or depersonalization is a 10 out of 10, if you sleep well, if you exercise regularly, especially cardio, and if you're eating healthy and reducing processed stuff, then your worst day might only, on average, your average day might be a 6, right? Or your worst will be an 8. I would highly recommend looking into different forms of diets, especially when it relates to mental health. There's a really good interview with Jordan Peterson, I think Dr. Chris Palmer, which talks about this, which I would highly recommend. For some people, this will literally cure their anxiety. It will help so much, it will literally completely remove any issues you've had with anxiety and depersonalization. So it's well worth looking into. For me personally, it didn't. I even did a full beef diet, beef only, for a good month and a bit. And I've tried lots of different diets. However, I did learn a lot of things. And one of the things was that if I eat too much processed stuff, I will definitely feel worse. Like, no doubt in my mind, I feel worse. So also try to understand that exercising regularly is going to be one of literally like top 2 or 3 best things you can do for your mental health. Exercising. Like, I know you probably hear that all the time, but if you really understood it, you'd be doing it more regularly. So find something fun to do, anything at all, even if it's just at home. If you can't leave the home at the moment, if you're feeling really bad, just like do 20 push-ups a day, or 20 air squats a day, or like start small, like tiny, start small. Do a follow along video on YouTube as well. Literally anything, but try to make it fun so you'll do it more regularly, and try to set yourself a goal to achieve day to day and week to week, because eventually that momentum can build up and you'll be doing exercise more regularly, which will help your mental health more than you will ever know. Exercise is absolutely key to recovery from depersonalization and anxiety. And then finally, yes, sleep. Watch the podcast episode on sleep with Andrew Huberman. He'll tell you everything you need to know about sleep and how it affects the mind. And if you're not sleeping well, there's some psychologists which won't even prescribe medication to people unless they fix their sleep first, because nothing is going to benefit them more than fixing their sleep. And that could be for you as well. So the top things are regular wake up times and sleep times, getting exposure to sun in the morning, and not staying up looking at screens right before you go to bed as well, and not eating too big a meal right before you go to sleep. They're the fundamentals. Go watch the episode. Andrew Huberman on sleep. He's got a few of them. Highly recommend. That's your homework. Now moving to the last one. I did talk about this a lot last time, which is spiritual, but I'll just brush over it now, which is essentially encapsulates anything to do with finding your place in the world, having a grounding underneath you, solid ground underneath your feet, finding an anchor, and that could be in religion as well, or some sort of spirituality, the universe, manifesting, whatever it might be. I'd highly recommend looking into that, learning about that, and finding your grounding, whatever that looks like for you. For some people, they say, I don't need some sort of grounding, I don't really believe in anything, or I'm a strict atheist. If you are an atheist and you're a strict atheist and you're struggling, I have a video, I'll link it up here somewhere or maybe at the end, which talks about my experience from being an atheist and then how I've somewhat become more open-minded to learning from things like religion and finding meaning in my life. So, and finding grounding. Very helpful. That doesn't mean like I'm full religious or anything like that, but you don't just have to be full religious to be able to gain a huge amount of benefit from learning why people find so much meaning in their life who are religious. Because science will not tell you how to find meaning in your life. It's not concerned with meaning. Science will tell you what matter is. However, religion will tell you what matters, and spirituality. So to summarize everything, we've spoken about what depersonalization is, the fact that you don't need to be afraid of it. It's not a lifelong diagnosis. However, to overcome it, we need to essentially stop thinking about it so often. And in order to do that, we need to become either less afraid of it or become more courageous towards it through things like exposure therapy, through finding a deeper understanding of what it actually is. Even for a lot of people, just understanding what it is completely removes it from that point on, because they know that they don't need to be afraid of it. For other people, things like diet and sleep and exercise are going to add a huge buffer zone for you. For some of you, it would actually completely heal you. One thing we didn't speak about, which I should probably touch on very quickly, is finding an aim, finding your direction in life. Do the Future Authoring Program by Jordan Peterson to figure out where you are and where you want to be, because having an aim in life is going to be one of the most beneficial things to removing anxiety. If you want to more know about that, I'll leave a link to my other anxiety video up here. We also spoke about practical tools, which you can do, buying earplugs, highly recommend, but they're not necessarily going to fix everything, they'll just help you manage it. We also then spoke about how finding a spiritual grounding or fundamental grounding and anchor underneath you will help you to move forward in life. I know for me, it was one of, if not the biggest thing for helping me overcome depersonalization and anxiety, was having that solid ground under my feet, because that's the thing that I was lacking. If you are tackling all of the steps which I've just spoken about and you feel like you're crushing life and you're trying to do everything you possibly can, your diet, your sleep, your exercise, you've got a goal, if you're doing all of those things and you're not getting better, I'm not opposed to at all people going down a route of things like medication. Now, things like SSRIs, I can't speak on. I don't have any experience with that stuff. However, I do have experience with getting diagnosed with ADHD and being on medication for ADHD, which is Vyvanse. And I have found that to be extremely beneficial for stabilizing, I guess, my mood day to day and allowing me to focus on what's most important in front of me without getting too distracted and too cluttered with those thoughts. So they help me just organize my thoughts a lot clearer, but only do those things once you feel like you have tackled the rest of it, because otherwise you're going to be fighting a losing battle. Oh, the waves are coming in. That's a sign for me to wrap up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm actually working on an anxiety ebook or course, which I will be releasing hopefully soon for a lot of you out there, to get all of my thoughts down on paper or into a video form, a longer video form, which gives you a lot more structure to do with this, to hopefully help you overcome some of those struggles. So keep an eye out for that. I'll put it in the link down below if it is available. Otherwise, watch this video over here. You'll probably really enjoy that. It's about, I'm not sure what it's about, but it'll probably interest you. So check that out. I'll see you guys tomorrow.